look at the FDNY on scene right now, doing what they do best, trying to get to anyone who may be trapped inside this garage on Ann Street, Lower Manhattan by Pace University as a result of a structural collapse inside a parking garage. And we do have a couple reporters on scene. We are getting ready to hear from Lisa Evers, who I believe is right near the scene of the collapse. Obviously a very hectic, chaotic situation, Lisa, down there. What do you know?
Well, Steve, let me tell you something. We don't have any official information on this because this entire incident is so new. But what we were hearing from preliminary reports just a short time ago was that there are people trapped inside a parking garage at 57 Ann Street. Now, let me just film down this street here. As you can see, it's completely shut off. They brought in NYPD officers here to secure the area. We've already seen one man come out on a stretcher being brought up by FDNY rescue teams. And then let's turn around here, Paul, and show them exactly where we are. That's Trinity Church right there that you see at Broadway and Ann, the famous Trinity Church. We're right in the shadow here of the Freedom Tower. And Paul, let's show them some of the vehicles that are here. The the Fire Department First Response Unit, of course, they're very experienced in rescuing people who are in these trapped circumstances. But now we're seeing Con Ed workers come in and other construction workers who are coming in to try and deal with the situation. We don't know yet what exactly happened here. We don't know what led to this, what is being described as a partial collapse of a parking garage. But anyone who's driven a car down here and tried to park, you know that the only place to really park are these parking garages. So we have no idea yet what the exact situation is. We're hoping to get more information shortly from officials, but right now they're dealing with this emergency, which is this partial collapse in a parking garage at 57 Ann Street. We have seen from both ends and from other people that have talked to us who are at the opposite end of the street here, which is Ann Street and Broadway, just about a block really from City Hall as well, who said that they saw people coming out on stretchers. On the other side, they appeared to be conscious. They were being given oxygen by firefighters and FDNY EMS. So that was a very good sign that they were breathing and they seemed to be alive, which was very good, and getting the treatment that they need. But there's a tremendous number of units here. We were previously at Manhattan Criminal Court, just a little bit further up here in Lower Manhattan. We started seeing these sirens going off, FDNY vehicles rushing down here, and then now there's just, there's a huge crowd here. Paul, let's swing around here. We'll swing around here and show everybody the crowd that's been coming out. So they've been bringing out the people that they have who were injured or who were inside the collapse. We've already seen 2 people coming out that were brought out on stretchers from this particular end. So you can be sure that what happens with a building, with any type of collapse in New York City, whether it's a parking garage, a building, any private home, any type of structure, is one of the first things that they have to do, the FDNY rescue teams, which we've seen from other stories, is that one of the things that they have to do first and foremost is to try to get to those people who are trapped inside. And in order to do that, they need to make really an on-site assessment of that particular location immediately to determine the structural stability, because the last thing they want to have happen is have firefighters go in or police go in or EMTs go in there, and then there's another piece or section of the building. Now we're just hearing more sirens coming down here and more reinforcements, so we may have to move away from the camera suddenly, but we'll keep talking and describing what's going on. One of the first things they have to do is secure the structure as best as they can to make sure there's no additional structural damage, so that when they go in, things won't collapse on them. And so we have more vehicles coming in through here right now that are definitely official vehicles. Not sure whether they're fire department or whether it's a police department, but they're coming in and going into the area here. Here comes another one. Oh, they're parking over there. So the main thing is that they have to make sure that it's safe for them to go in. And then they have a lot of different tools that they can use to try and get people. We don't know how big the parking garage was. We don't know how many people were in it at this time. I would guess you would think, though, at this time, this time of the afternoon, this happening after around 4:30 p.m., that, and now police are going in here. Okay, this is a rapid response team. Let's show them here, Paul, and give people an idea. They're coming in. We'll give you an update, hopefully get an update very soon. But the main thing is they have a lot of equipment. They have a lot of techniques that they have developed over the years because of everything that's happened in New York City in the last 20 or so years to try and figure out what's going on and to do it as safely as possible. So that's what we believe is happening right now as they're trying to get to these, as they're getting to these, trying to get to these victims, these survivors, to try to get them out. So we're hoping to hear more. And then one of our crews, Roy Picorni, talked with some people on the other end, closer to the scene just a short time ago, and here's what we heard. Okay, we see emergency management coming on right now, NYC Emergency Management, but here's what some of the people were saying earlier.
More worried actually about the attendants. I mean, I've known them for years. And I actually called one of them. He's stuck in the garage, in the elevator, in the garage.
So there's people trapped right now?
There's a person trapped in the elevator, yeah.
Okay, now we're also seeing different representatives, members of different organizations. So we see the MTA transit workers here. They have the hard hat helmets on. This, of course, is very close to the subway line, Bowling Green subway line, further down the City Hall station, very close by here as well. And then, of course, the number 4 train. And then, of course, the big Fulton, very close to the Fulton train station, just a block or two down from here. So right now, it's still not clear what was responsible for this, what set it off. There's a big group of people. I don't know if we can zoom down there, Paul, and try to give people a little better look of what's happening, but we see different vehicles. We see fire department, the ladder truck. We see the ladder truck. I don't know if you can, there's at least 2 ladder trucks there that we can see, and they have members in the top. It looks like they are going in towards the structure. So from the height that they're at, can you want to move? Let's see if we can move a little closer here, Paul, for everybody. So we've got more NYPD police officers showing up here. Let's show them those trucks. I mean the ladder trucks, the ladders, and you can see them in the basket there, which I believe is the firefighters. But we're gonna take a little break here now, and from going live with you, we're gonna try to get more information about this and find out exactly what's going on. The NYPD Emergency Service K9 unit is here, showing that they're bringing in the dogs as well. So we'll find out more and be back with you very, very soon. Steve, back to you in the studio.
Very well.